And joining me right now, my good friend, ESPN Houston Texans beat reporter, DJ Bien-Aime. Oh, very français.
Oh, God.
What? You don't miss that at all? Come on.
Sometimes.
You don't miss the corniness? You don't miss the random accents for no reason?
Sometimes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So you've been on a roll this week when it comes to asking the tough questions. And before we dive into the back and forths that you've had as regards to Derek Stingley, what didn't happen on Monday Night Football, how has hearing from the Houston Texans, all of them over the past week, made you feel about, I guess, the direction for this team the rest of the way?
I would say that there's just not a lot of accountability from the coaching staff. I think that they keep putting it all on the players, which I just don't think is like totally fair. In all honesty, because again, like trying to go, I'm not trying to make excuses for guys, right? Like I'm not an excuse guy, but I am a reality guy, right? That's like me. If let's say I decide to criticize Jaden Higgins and Xavier Hutchinson for not getting open more often, hypothetically speaking, like it'd be fair to say, like, hey, like one's a rookie and the other one was a 6th-round pick. So like to expect certain things from these guys when this is what the context isn't fair, right? But I can expect DeMeco Ryans to either own up to the fact that he was telling their cornerbacks throughout the entire week, we're going to be physical, we're going to press, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And while he did say that in the presser, the plan was to do this and that. What happened on the field was totally different. It was totally different. And I'm not saying like there weren't times where the Seahawks kind of, manipulated their pre-snap looks. Because there's times like every OC knows that if you have a receiver, let's say you have a receiver kind of tight, but he's by himself, right? So you kind of got him like in that, he's by himself, but you kind of got him like in that slot spot. He's flanked out, but not completely flanked out, kind of more in between that, close to the hash. If you motion somebody over, and just say the corner's press up on that receiver, if you motion somebody over, that corner now has to back up and go over here. So now this receiver now has a free release. Or you can have a receiver posted right here, have a cornerback, let's say you have Stingley right here. If you motion a guy over, hypothetically, let's say JSN, Stingley now has to go over here, but Stingley's not going to be pressed. Stingley's going to have to play off and now have to bail, and now you can run like an out route or something like that, or easy, free access, et cetera, et cetera. Like we saw that on the first play. We've seen that a few times when Justin Jefferson got open against Stingley last year on a couple of plays like that. So there's ways to manipulate those situations, those scenarios, but there also are other times where there was no manipulation and they just kind of just playing off, like on that touchdown with Derek Stingley in coverage. Obviously, he got beat on that. But again, JSN had a two-way go. And if a guy like JSN has a two-way go, you're cooked, period. Like there's not a single, right now, the way he's playing, there's not a single DB that can guard JSN. If you're off at 8-9 yards and JSN has a two-way go and you have no help inside or outside, it's just gonna be a tough night for you. Not saying it's impossible, but right now the way he's playing is just tough. So I think that tripling down on you saying that the game plan was to get hands on, be physical, blah, 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 blah. All right, well then call coverages that's gonna make them have to get hands on and be physical. Now that's not to say Kamari didn't have his shots, he did. Absolutely, but Kamari's not your $30 million cornerback. Derek Stingley is. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's a situation when, in my opinion, you're just getting out-coached. But you're not getting out-coached because they're doing something that's breaking your scheme, per se. A lot of it, you're being out-coached because of stubbornness and arrogance, right? Where it's like, calling this right here, we just got to execute. And that's a lot of what you kind of hear from, like, DeMeco. It's like, we just got to execute. And that's another thing that, like, I be hearing from players is, like, DeMeco's big on, we just got to execute. We just got to execute instead of, like, all right, how can I do a little bit better to put y'all in better spots to make plays, you know?
Yeah. We went through the timeline of the back and forths between you and first Derek Stingley Monday night, then you and DeMeco Tuesday during the press conference. We also played some of the clips where Derek Stingley was talking about his side of things at media availability on Thursday, where you brought up that, hey, anyone could be physical, but we got to do our job when we're off in coverage. So it is really confusing to figure out what is going on behind the scenes just based off of what we're hearing from every single party, including Matt Burke, who gave a very confusing answer. So to go back to what you were just talking about, it's about execution in the eyes of DeMeco, where maybe in the eyes of the players, it's more about, hey, we're doing what we're being told and it's not working. What does this turn into? Where is this going? Are there players that are questioning the scheme? Because from Derek Stingley, I don't think you heard him questioning the scheme as much as him saying, I did what I was supposed to do out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you're hearing from DeMeco Ryans, like it wasn't what he was doing. Like he wasn't doing what he was supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm lost personally. I'm wondering where you're at and what the players that you talk to are saying.
Yeah, I would just say with DeMeco, I think that, and he has what DeMeco fails to realize is players listen to his press conferences. I've had from a source somewhere else get back to me that one reason players can get annoyed with DeMeco is because he'll say one thing in the press conference, and he got this from a former player that played under DeMeco. He said one thing that annoys them is DeMeco will say one thing at a press conference and then will turn around and do something completely different, right? And it's like you saying this one way, and then here you're doing something different. So I think that's one thing he has to start being cognizant of / careful. I'm telling you, players listen to his press conferences 1,000%. They 1,000% listen to his press conferences in some capacity, right? Like there's nothing that he says that if it's not correct, that can be critical of a player that won't get back to them, period. There's nothing that he says that might not be, he might be gassing himself up that's inaccurate that won't get back to the player. If it's inaccurate, it will get back to the players. So he needs to start being cognizant of that because that you lose credibility within the room, right? And I'm not saying they were going to check out on him and turn their back on him or anything like that, but I think like there were some cracks that were laid in 2023 that are starting to sever a little bit more and more and more. But it's just they were winning. It was 2023, DeMeco's first year there, CJ's first year there. It was all great. But there were still like foundational things that were clearly like starting to be there that since they was winning, we just kind of brushed over it. In 2024, they started to sever a little bit more, brushed over it because they were winning. They got to the playoff, won a playoff game, but it was starting to bubble up a little bit more. Now the 2-4, and it's just more like, those cracks are starting to crack even more.
Yeah, when you lose all this stuff, exposed.
Yeah, because I would have to confirm this, but I do get the sense that DeMeco is very much, and this is my opinion, this is not reported, but based off of just my conversations a little bit, DeMeco is very much how do I put it? He's never wrong. I don't think I wouldn't say that's fair to categorize him as, but it's very much I'm right majority of the time. Yeah. I won't go and say he think that all the time, but I think it's very much, which is why you always hear him talking about execute better, and we got to coach it better. We got to put them in better positions to succeed. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Like one thing I give Sean McVay credit for was after they lost that Thursday night game, he immediately said, "I was a bad call. I put him in a bad position." When have you ever seen DeMeco say that?
Yeah, I think there's a clip that went viral yesterday. It's Liam Cohen talking to his 7th round pick who took ownership for a bad play, and Cohen's like, "No, that was on me." It is from time to time, I would imagine, as a player in the locker room, refreshing to see the coach, who's the leader, say, "Yeah, I could have done that differently. We've had conversations about this before, and this is not exclusive to DeMeco Ryans. There's a lot of NFL coaches in the league, and much like a teacher, they're all going to have their favorites. And I think it's pretty clear who embodies what DeMeco Ryans wants, the swarm mentality, Will Anderson, Azeez Al-Shaair, Jalen Petrie. And I would imagine that Derek Stingley had to earn his way there. For sure. I am very curious about, just given where this week has gone and what some might argue has been a slow start for Derek Stingley to open the year. I'm curious as to what this relationship now is, if maybe Derek Stingley is not in the inner circle of the DeMeco Ryans swarm room.
I would say to start off, he wasn't,
when he first started, right? Because he was a Lovie Smith first year, and then he comes in with DeMeco.
I would say I used to start off mainly because personality wise, Derek, ironically, it should work, but Derek is more stoic, but he's not like a kind of like, how I put it, like he doesn't play like Jalen. Like he doesn't Jalen personality, which is one that DeMeco kind of gravitates more to. But even that, like DeMeco benched Jalen for a game, and I guess the Browns in 2023. So it's not like he'll never, reprimand those guys. But I would say that he became one eventually because he started making hella plays. So it's like, it was what it was. Like, well, that's why I paid. The part of the reason why he got paid. But the guys that I know are Nico guys. I would throw Nico in there. I would throw Nico in there for sure.
How about CJ?
I would tentatively throw CJ in there.
Interesting.
I would tentatively throw CJ in there. I don't think DeMeco's stupid. I think he knows he needs his quarterback to win. So yeah, Will, Daniil, Azeez, Tommy Togi, Henry Toa, Kamari.
But it's not everyone. Like, and this is every team, by the way. I'm not trying to throw DeMeco under the bus here, but this dynamic that we've talked about over the last couple of years amongst ourselves and occasionally on the air is a fascinating one to me, because of all the guys that, we look at on this team, Stingley is considered one of the best players in the league. He's considered one of the best, if not the best, corner in the league. Yeah. And this entire exchange where he's saying, hey, I did what I was supposed to do, and DeMeco's saying, no, we were supposed to do something else in the game. And then Matt Burke gives some convoluted, I don't know what the fuck he was saying, answer, here we are. And I am wondering about how Stingley feels about this situation, and if this moment can be fixed between the two. Can they move on from it, or is this going to be something in the background the rest of the year?
I don't think there's like any like problem or issue between the two per se. I think it's just more like, hey, I was told to do this, I did that, and Amigo saying, well, we're supposed to do this. I think it's more of that. I think it's funny because the quote that I put out was between he's talking to me, Sarge, and Jonathan. We had caught him and we just started chopping it up, and he was just, he meant, like, Sarge asked him, is there any disconnect between you and DeMeco? He said, no, I don't think there's disconnect at all. Like, we're just doing what we're told to do. And he kept reiterating that, like, we're just doing what we're told to do, right? And I think that, and he also mentioned that, if I had to put this other quote out there, someone asked, how difficult is it to guard a guy like that playing off versus press? He said, we know that's specific to him, but if you have a receiver that is good in open space, you want to throw the timing off by being in his face, and then the second part of the quote is where you say, right, where he says, if you're off and you're trying to put hands on, you got to get worried about flags and illegal contact and stuff like that. He said you want to kind of get up close and personal. So maybe DeMeco's trying to say like that was on Matt Burke, but I don't think he's trying to say that. I don't think he's trying to say that at all. Because Matt Barry does call plays, but at the end of the day, like DeMeco is the architect of the offensive of the defense, and I think I'm not totally sure, but I'm 50% sure that he put blame on the cornerbacks for not stopping JSN, which technically is fair because technically they did not. But then it's like counterpoint. You didn't put us in great position to,
stop the best receiver in the league statistically.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like at a certain point, it's on y'all too. Because I think one thing that you're going to see a lot more with teams is like they're going to try to. I think the best way to attack this defense, we want to throw it consistently, is on early downs because it's very vanilla on early downs. So that's the best way to attack this defense, throwing wise, is on early down, first and second down, right?
Interesting.
Because then everything is at your disposal. Third down is when things get tougher to throw, which is why like the Seahawks actually didn't do that well on third downs, but most of their success was on first and second down. So hopefully they learn from it. Luckily for them, they don't see like a premier receiver like that for some time. I think they don't. I know they got Denver. I mean, they got Niners, Denver, Jags. Then they travel to play. Is it the Colts?
I think somebody. So, yes,
it might be the Colts or Tennessee. I think it's the Colts, and then they got Buffalo. So they don't see a premier receiver for some time. But I also think it's a bigger thing that I think DeMeco in these standalone primetime games gets lemon booty. Yeah, that's lemon booty, bro.
Explain.
I think he gets really tight in those situations. Like I think it's mainly that. Like under him, including playoffs, they're 4-7 in primetime standalone games, right? 4-7. They started under him 3-1 because they started 3-1 if my memory serves me correct. Because they beat the Colts, they beat the Browns, then they lost to the Ravens, and then they beat the Bears. So since then, they're like 1-6 since.
Yeah, it's been bad.
Yeah, the only team they beat in prime time since is the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were missing.
Right. It was Cooper Rush.
Yeah, it was Cooper Rush. Yeah, so like since that 3-1 start on prime time. Cause that's the thing. Like I know he tried to like minimize it. That's truly 1000% a thing when you're playing standalone games. Cause those standalone games get wonky. Like some guys, they play way better on prime time than they do like off of prime time. And I think with him, again, they started 3-1, and since that Bears win, they're literally like 1-6 on prime time. No, not 1-6. My bad. They're like 2-6 or something like that. Some number.
Yeah.
Like they beat. Yeah, because I think since that one game. Because they did win a playoff game. So I think it might be like 5-7 or whatever. But regardless, they're like 2-6 or whatever that number is since. I'm going to give them a playoff win against the Chargers. That is prime time. But yeah, it gets weird. The offense struggles. The defense does not play up to standard. Like, when have you seen on prime time the defense play up to standard? Since that rookie year, where have you seen it play up to like the prime standard outside of
against top teams too, right?
Yeah.
The Cowboys game, they did have some moments, but it's Cooper Rush. I felt like that team was on the verge of quitting at that moment in time.
Right. And they play well against the Chargers, they play well against the Chiefs. Yeah. But then we got other games where they don't play as well. And offensively, it's So I think he got a little lemon booty in those big games.
I don't know what more we can say about Nick Haley that hasn't been said by everyone else. I do want to highlight, I thought that was pretty interesting, you highlighting Nico Collins in motion pre-snap relative to the other top receivers in the league and how few times they try to do things like that. I mean, you don't need to do it every down, but shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like alarming to me because it's not even like – the thing is, like, you want to use Nico as your chess piece to dictate coverage.
Yeah, he's your best
player.
player.
They're not using him like that. They're not using him like that at all. They're using him like a stationary. You're gonna be on the left side. You're gonna be on the right side. You're gonna grow. You're gonna either run a slant, a stop, a go, and maybe a dig or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes they make some over routes, stuff like that. But it just sometimes feels so easy to key in on him, because like he's only had like one big game, I think, this year, right? Because the Jags. And all the other games have been like very, 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 very pedestrian. I think a lot of that is because like it's easy to guard him. Okay, the Titans, he had 4 for 79, but most of that was on that one big conversion.
Yeah, the big one, right? And the Jaguars game too. I mean, the corner completely shit his pants on that play.
Yeah,
He goes
exactly.
wide open.
Right. So I think that that one just surprised me because it's 2025 and a lot like the best guys get used as chess pieces. Now, granted, if he was mainly a slot, then he probably motion more, but I don't think it makes any sense for Braxton Berrios, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Xavier Hutchinson to have motion more than him. I just don't think that into a route. I don't think that makes any sense at all. Especially when like you're motioning guys that wouldn't like dictate the coverage per se, or you're not even motioning them a lot of times to Nico's side, so then Nico now becomes the slot, right? You might have Nico outside, you just motion him over to like be in the slot on the other side. Like that's not creative at all. You know, like how's that stress communication for the defense? That doesn't stress communication at all for the defense. Like they just kind of like one person bumps out and like now this person that just bumped out has a new responsibility, and this person has this that guy's responsibility. And the guy over here now has this responsibility that this guy had. Like that's not. If I can explain it that fast, they can obviously do that in a blink of an eye. Like that's not that's like muscle memory at that point. So I think, man, like, yeah, I'm just curious to see, man, where this season goes.
I am too. Hotter seat between Caley and Caserio, because you also outlined the offseason for Caserio. Stephon Diggs is looking great with the Patriots.
Yeah.
You've got Tunsil in with the Commanders. Maybe the Commander season isn't going so well, but
he's playing great.
He is playing great. Okay. They bring in Cam Robinson. He's gone. They bring in Christian Kirk. He hasn't played. They bring in CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's gone. A lot of money on the books still for that. I don't even know who the fuck Nick Niemann is. I know he was on the team, but he didn't make the team, right? Like, so it's been a rough season for him to this point. And look, he's definitely had some hits in the draft, but like he's also been here the longest, and you got to wonder, you know, with the Patriots Association, I know the McNairs are sensitive to what the fan base says a lot more than they were in years past. So I'd imagine for both Caserio and Caley, the rest of this season, it's their jobs that are on the line.
Yeah. For sure, both Knicks' seat are getting hot. I'm just how I put it. I'm a big proponent that if you're gonna fire the GM, you gotta fire the head coach. If you're not gonna fire the GM, then just keep the head coach. I don't really like firing the GM, and then don't get me wrong, it's worked at some places like Andy Reid. It worked there, John Fox.
But it hasn't worked out here I remember when the Texans got rid of Rick Smith and gave Bill O'Brien all the power. There were good years after that for the Texans.
Yeah, but eventually this is out because head coaches their expertise isn't being general managers.
Right.
At all. You know what I'm saying? So
no, they have their guys. Bill O'Brien was obsessed with random players who did well against the Texans.
Right. So like, you know, you kind of need like I'm kind of the mindset that if you build an organization and your GM should probably be the most probably should be the second most powerful person in the organization after the owners, right? Like I think like that's a good checks and balances. Your head coach, y'all work together to get the players, cool, but like at the end of the day, like the GM should be making the final decision on a lot of stuff, just so there is a clear pecking order. And when things go wrong, it's not hard to figure out, okay, this went wrong because this, where DeMeco has more power than Nick, right? So that's why I always reiterate on Twitter, please stop leaving DeMeco please stop leaving DeMeco blameless in all of this. Like, I understand, like, people want to blame Nick Caserio, and, like, he's a great, easy target. Hey, don't get me wrong. Nick Caserio getting heat, I love that because most people don't like dealing with Nick Caserio to begin with anyway. We're going to keep it professional, et cetera, but he's just not a people person, and this is a people business. But that's neither here nor there. We could discuss about that a whole another time later whenever he's finally eventually canned. But I'm a big proponent of, if you're not going to get rid of the head coach, don't get rid of the GM. Or if you're going to get rid of one guy, it has to be the head coach, and then the GM hires somebody else, but not this GM. So that's why I'm good with getting rid of both or just keep them both. Because again, a lot of these moves are not made because Nick decides to do it and just wants, DeMeco's okay. A lot of it is done because of DeMeco and what DeMeco thinks and what DeMeco wants, right?
Yeah.
Like DeMeco, for example, DeMeco wanted a veteran receiver last offseason, not this one that just passed, but 2024. They went after Keenan Allen, couldn't get him, and then they went and they got Stephon Diggs, right? Because that's what DeMeco wanted. That's not because, Nick was just like, hey, I'm gonna go get us a receiver, and DeMeco was like, okay,
yeah.
When Laramie Tunsil got traded, DeMeco and Nick Caserio called him. Not Nick Caserio, DeMeco and Nick called him. So it's not like Nick is making these things by himself, right? Like he's conversing with DeMeco Ryans. They're both
there is collaboration, like you talked about
exactly,
in the press conference.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm really big on like, man, like when y'all only blame Nick, y'all are leaving a man that's just as powerful, as more powerful, letting him, kind of walk by. Why you rolling over like that? letting a man more powerful skate by without much blame. Like I get it because he's the GM. So like you think GM, you find the players, man. DeMeco is again the guy. Like he's the most powerful guy in the organization outside of the owner, which is why we all say if one guy's going to be gone, it's going to be Nick, not DeMeco, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I just think it's hard for people to turn the guns on DeMeco because he played here.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make it very difficult for the finger to eventually be pointed at him. You got some of the expatriates that, for all Texans fans, sensitive subject, O'Brien, Easterby, you get it. So will be very interesting to see the rest of the season. DJ, always appreciate hanging out with you. I want to say one last point, and I'm probably going to do a segment about this. That article that you wrote for Monday Night Football about dancing, it has aged not very well.
Yeah. Hey man, we had to write something. We had to write something.
Hey, I get it. I mean, you got to find something. It wasn't depressing. It was fun, and then there's no dancing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just it's gonna be a lot more of this throughout the season, man. It's just like, man, like, cause like the other stuff that I want to write, I gotta wait until things go off the rail a little bit more. Cause I think that's kind of where it's trending. So I just gotta wait a little bit more. So it's just really like just being patient and waiting for things to continue to progress, and then kind of going from there. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is a very, very important stretch. These next 3 games,
it is.
If they come out of it, I'm trying to think. They have 3 games. They come out
Niners, Broncos, Jaguars. All of these teams plus 500, and with the 49ers and Broncos, these are home games. But I bet there's going to be a lot of other colored.
Right. Yeah,
there.
So it might be if they're like 3-6.
Oof.
Here's my thing though. Like, let's say they finish the year 6-11. DeMeco would have. No, I think he would have to finish. He would have to finish. My math is correct. He came into year 20-14 in the regular season. Yeah, so you have to finish 5-11, 5-12 for him to be under 500. But again, like if they finish 6-11, he's basically a 500 coach.
Yeah, not good.
So that's why I'm like, hey man, like based on how the season goes, because I just if it fall off a cliff and it just goes south, right? I just don't want I don't want the McNairs to think that it can turn around. Like it's likely it can turn around. Because usually when it ends south, it doesn't turn around. Like outside of let's remove the Eagles. They're an aberration. They're an anomaly, right? It ended south for Miami last year. Look at them now. It ended south for Jacksonville a couple years ago. Look at them now.
Giants last year. I mean, and while they got the Giants last year, and while they have Jackson Dart, I mean, you saw what just happened on Sunday.
Yeah. The Cowboys, when they ended south in 2023, when they lost to the Packers.
You got smoked by the Packers.
Next year, You saw when who else lost? The Chargers, when they blew that big lead, you saw what happened the next year. Like that stuff carries over. Like it 1000% carries over, you know? So be careful. You know what I'm saying? Like be careful in deciding, oh, well, he had success before. He'll get it back on track. Not necessarily. There's a lot of guys that had success before that did not get it back on track shortly after. Because the thing is still that there's a reason why it went off the rails and has a lot to do with your process and whatever your I'm gonna throw some cliches, your culture, your whatever, that drove it off the rails.
Yeah.
And it's a high likelihood that you're gonna do very similar things that are gonna again drive it off the rails. And then you end up becoming, oh, well, we got to get my guys in here. Get my guys on do things my way. And then, because I think Miami did some shit like that with Adam Gase.
Right.
I think 2017, like, they didn't do well after, they made the playoffs in 2016. And then, like, they said, we're going to get my guy. We're going to get my guy. We're going to get Jarvis Landry out of here. We're going to get this.
And it's like a 2 to 3 year process. Yeah. And then the cycle generally repeats itself, which is why you've seen the Jets and Dolphins be what they've been for such a long period of time.
Right. Because it just repeats over and over and over. And, that's why I'm like, if it finishes poorly, like, you need to. But if it finishes poorly, there'll be bigger reason that will be reported that then we'll have the McNairs have to make a decision. I'll leave it at that.
The great DJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat writer for ESPN. He knows ball. He really does. I love that you are able to translate it to people. And on top of that, very, I think, connected in the locker room. Value your work, man, and always appreciate you stopping by. Let's do this again soon.
No problem, brother.